Welcome back to our Lenten Bible study on the Gospel of Mark. Today we have reached day 20, means we've reached half the way of our Bible study, and we have also reached the structural center of the Gospel of Mark. Before we begin understanding and reading that text, a very quick recap of what just happened before this. So yesterday we saw the healing of the man at Bethsaida. People bring a blind man to Jesus, asking him to heal the blind man. And Jesus takes the blind man by the hand and walks him out of the city, a sign of a personal relationship. But then Jesus begins to heal him and he puts saliva on his eyes. And he asks the man, "Can you see?" And the man says, "I can see, but people look like trees walking around." And that shows that he has only received a partial healing. And then Jesus once again will touch his eyes, and now he will see clearly. And many scholars say that this miracle is symbolic. The disciples are beginning to see, but they do not have clarity yet. They have only a partial understanding of who Jesus is, and that will be clarified in the text now. Also, today, now at this point, we're reaching Act 2 of the Gospel of Mark. Act 1 focuses on who Jesus is, the miracles, the authority, the power of Jesus over demons, over nature, over sickness, over food, over bread. The second act will now focus on what kind of Messiah he is. He will predict and he will teach about his suffering, about his death, about his passion and his resurrection. And as we begin to read the text, we will once again see that Jesus is moving along. Jesus is moving with his disciples, and now where he is going? He is going to Caesarea Philippi. I want you to open your maps and look at it. Look at where Caesarea Philippi is. There's Galilee, and then Jesus is going upwards towards Caesarea Philippi. Okay, verse number 27. Jesus went on with his disciples to the villages of Caesarea Philippi. A very important question will be asked now at Caesarea Philippi, and so a little about the place. It is above Galilee, north of Galilee, near Mount Hebron. And this place has historical and cultural significance. It is a center of pagan worship, and at this place, the god Pan was worshipped. This place honors Caesar but also worships him as God. And so this place is filled with false or fake divine claims or fake divine authority. And in this place, a contrast will be made. On one side will be Caesar, the worship of Caesar, and the other side will be the worship of the Lord, the worship of the Messiah. On one side is a fake Son of God, and the other side is the real Son of God. And here a very important question is placed. Okay, verse number 27, we continue. And on the way he asked his disciples, "Who do people say I am?" And they answered him, "John the Baptist, and others Elijah, and still others one of the prophets." Till now in the text, the people were asking, "Who is Jesus? Who is Jesus?" Now, Jesus is asking the apostles, "Who do people say I am?" And they give these amazing answers. They say Elijah, John the Baptist, still others say that you are a prophet. And sometimes it feels good. Wow, they're recognizing finally who Jesus is. But the point is, they have missed who Jesus really is. To call him John the Baptist, to call him Elijah is respectful, but it is not adequate. People are recognizing that something extraordinary is happening here, but people are missing that someone extraordinary is here, and that someone is the Son of God. The someone is the Messiah who is supposed to come. The someone is God himself. And so, even though they have recognized that someone important is here, something great is happening here, they have missed God. And then Jesus will ask his disciples this question. He asked them, "But who do you say I am?" In the English language here, we don't get the emphasis, but the way Jesus asks this question is not "Who do you say I am?" but it's like this: "But you who are with me, you who I have spoken to you who I have revealed the mysteries of the kingdom of God." The emphasis on the you, but you, who do you say I am? And now we'll see Peter's response. Peter answered him, "You are the Messiah." With this answer, it should feel like the gospel story till now has come to a conclusion. Right from the first chapter of the Gospel of Mark, Jesus is trying to reveal to the people who he is. He's doing signs and miracles and wonders and healings and exorcisms in order to reveal who Jesus really is. And no one has got it. The demon shout, the disciples missed the entire point. And so now it looks finally as if the disciples have got it. It looks as if Peter has got it. He says, "You are the Messiah." This is a response to the central question, who then is this? So people have been asking, who then is this? Who then is this? And it looks like Peter has finally got the answer. Peter says, you are the Messiah. And here we see the first explicit recognition of Jesus as the Messiah, and it comes from the mouth of Peter. Now, the word Messiah, the NRSV says Messiah, some versions say Christ. And you can see in the footnote there again that there is or the Christ, Messiah or the Christ. Christ is the Greek term, and Messiah is the Hebrew term. Now, with Peter recognizing who Jesus is as the Messiah, the gospel should come to a close. However, the problem is this: Peter's understanding of Messiah and the understanding of Messiah that Jesus came to teach, Jesus' understanding of the Messiah are different. And so now we will see that in the first part, they're asking, who is Jesus? Peter say, Jesus, you are the Messiah. And now Jesus will begin to teach them who the Messiahship is. And we will also see why. The disciples till this point, they see vaguely, as we seen in the passage just before this, that they see vaguely. They do not have clarity yet on who the Messiah should be. And now we will see Peter's response and the interaction that Jesus and Peter and the other apostles have. Verse number 30. And he sternly ordered them not to tell anyone about him. Just imagine Peter going around and telling people, the Messiah has come, the Messiah has come, the Messiah has come. But the challenge is Peter's understanding of the Messiah is wrong. And if he goes around telling people what the Messiah, who is come, the Messiah is come, he will give the people his understanding of who the Messiah is. And therefore Jesus will once again tell Peter, do not go and tell anyone. We shall see just closely now in a few lines in the text that Peter misunderstands who Jesus is. So let me give you a quick sequence of the events that have happened and will happen. We'll call it the sequence of rejection. First, Peter confesses that Jesus is the Messiah. Jesus orders silence. We've seen these two. Verse 31 onwards, Jesus will begin to explain who the true Messiah is, the suffering nature of the Messiah. And we will see immediately in verse 32 that Peter rebukes Jesus. He rejects the understanding of the Messiahship of Jesus. And we see in verse 33 that now Jesus will rebuke Peter. And so now we are going to see a pattern from Mark chapter 8 to Mark chapter 10. And the pattern is this: Jesus will predict his passion. He will tell them that he is about to suffer and die. The disciples will misunderstand what Jesus is trying to say. And finally, Jesus will once again teach them what true discipleship means, the way of the cross. And so we see a verse number 31. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and after 3 days rise again. Until this moment, Jesus has been only revealing himself through signs and wonders and miracles and exorcisms. Now Jesus will begin a new phase of teaching them. He will teach them that the Messiah must suffer, that the Messiah must die, and what it means for the Messiah to die, what it means for them to be a disciple, what it means for the Messiah to rise again. But we will see that there is a resistance. They do not want to accept Jesus' definition of Messiahship. And Jesus, in fact, in the text, he says, the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders and the chief priest. In the word must over here, we can see divine necessity. Jesus is not merely predicting that he is going to die, but he's saying that it is a central element, it is an important feature of God's salvific plan. Only through it can the will of God be accomplished, and only through it can people be saved. And he also goes on to say that he will be rejected by these three people: the elders, the chief priest, and the scribes. Now, if you remember, earlier we had described what the Sanhedrin was, and the Sanhedrin was made up of these three groups of people: the elders, the scribes, and the chief priest. And these people will come together now to reject Jesus. The authority, the religious authority of Jerusalem will reject Jesus. Verse 32 will say that he said it plainly, openly, clearly, and without any metaphor. And the reason is this, that the disciples should not misunderstand what Jesus is trying to tell them. Earlier we see that Jesus had spoken to them in parables, but the disciples misunderstood the parables. They didn't grasp what the parables are. And so Jesus now comes to them with such great compassion. He says, I will tell you directly what it is, that I will suffer, I will be rejected, I will be crucified, and on the third day I will rise again. And now we see Peter, he has this amazing love for Jesus, and he will respond with these words. And Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him. Before we look at anything else, I want you to look at the love that Peter had for Jesus. Now, very often, what is pointed out is the fact that Peter was selfish and he could only see his understanding of the Messiah, and we will come to that. But I strongly believe that Peter loved Jesus, and you don't want to see anyone that you love go through the agony on the cross. I'm sure Peter, the apostles, and Jesus, whenever they went up and down, and they would see people crucified, and to see someone crucified in itself is agony. You can see the suffering, you can see the pain of the person being crucified. It is one of the most gruesome ways that anybody can be killed or anyone can be executed. And Jesus saying that he is going to go through that. And Peter, with all the love he has for Jesus, will rebuke Jesus. And that, I think, is the first reason why Peter will tell Jesus, Jesus, no for the cross. But also, there is another element in this. And the other element is Peter's understanding of Messiahship is very, very, very different from Jesus' understanding of Messiahship. Jesus' understanding of Messiahship is servanthood. Peter's understanding of Messiahship is kingship. And so Peter's understanding of Messiah would be this: Jesus is the Messiah. He will now have an army. He will now walk into Rome and he will destroy Caesar. He will destroy the Roman Empire. And then there will be this great celebration that Jesus is crowned as king. And to take Peter's side here, to argue for Peter for a second, I will say this. Peter thought that Jesus, after all after all that he has done and the people have opposed him, he is discouraged and is speaking some defeatist nonsense. And so Peter, in his heart of heart, is protecting what he thought the Messiahship should be. He's protecting Jesus from feeling defeated and from feeling rejected. You see, the heart of Peter here is amazing, is brilliant. Peter really loves the Lord, but he does not yet understand who Jesus is. And then Jesus tells Peter in verse 32, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." We have now here a counter rebuke from Jesus. When earlier it was said that Peter rebuked Jesus, the word rebuke there is the same Greek word that Jesus used to rebuke the demons. And that's how Peter was rebuking Jesus. And now Jesus rebukes Peter back. He says, "Get behind me, Satan." Now the question here is, do you know Jesus was tempted more than once? It was not just those three temptations that Jesus had in his wilderness, but there was this constant temptation that was presented before Jesus. And now here, through the one he loves, there is once again this temptation. The temptation that Jesus faces here when Peter is telling Jesus not to go all the way to the cross is the temptation of a crossless crown. Peter wants Jesus to be the Messiah without a cross, only with the crown and no cross. And therefore, Jesus tells Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." And so we see here that Peter wants glory for Jesus, but he wants glory without suffering. Peter loves Jesus. He has great affection for Jesus, but his affection is without understanding. And this takes us back to the passage that we concluded with yesterday. The man who is healed in two stages. The first stage he can see, but his sight is not clear. And the disciples are at this stage at the moment. They see the Messiahship of the Lord, they see the glory of the Lord. However, their Messiahship, their understanding of the Messiahship is still incomplete. And so the question to you and to me is the same question that Jesus asked to the apostles: Who do you say I am? It is a personal question to you and to me. Who do you say I am? And we need to respond to this from our personal experience. You found Jesus healing you, so you can say, "Jesus, you are my healer." You found Jesus providing for you, you can say, "Jesus, you are my provider." You found Jesus guiding you and shepherding you, you can say, "Jesus, you are my shepherd." What is it in your experience Jesus is to you? Who is Jesus really to you? And that is how we evangelize. We know who Jesus is to us. We know what Jesus has done for us. And we speak from our experience to others. We evangelize from our experience. We tell about Jesus to others from the goodness that the Lord has done for us. And that is evangelization. So, my dear brothers and sisters, let me close with this question: Who is Jesus to you? It is great. It's a great opportunity for reflection throughout this day. So, I wish you all the best as you reflect. Ask the Lord to guide you, ask the Lord to lead you, ask the Lord to show you and to help you to answer this question. Until we see you again tomorrow, God bless and goodbye. Okay, do not forget, tomorrow we do Mark chapter 8, verses 34 to 9, chapter 9, verses 13. So until we meet again tomorrow to study the Word of God, wish you the choicest blessings of the Lord. May the Lord be with you. May the Lord be with me. and may we together bring glory to His name.